Hello and welcome to Ticket to Life. This is Henry, and what shall we talk about today? Oh gosh, I've got so much stuff to share with you. I hope you have time to listen. First of all, I'd like to thank you for allowing me to be part of your day, and thank you for listening. If you're driving on your way to work to hear this, and I say something shocking, I don't plan on saying anything shocking, but you never know what might come out of my mouth. But can you believe it? February is almost out of here. We got an extra day this year because it's leap year. So a lot of people are ready for February to be gone and over and done with. As for me, it was kind of it was busy, but you know what? You want to be busy when you're at my age. You don't want to be sitting around. But I hope that you all did enjoy your month of February for 2024. I just want to talk about the Ick Factor. I don't know how many of you know what the Ick Factor is, but before we go into the Ick Factor, I have a question for you. Have you ever been to a retreat before? Of course, when a lot of people hear retreat, the first thing they think, oh, it's a religious retreat. No, I don't want to go. No, actually, some of those are definitely worthwhile going to. But they have all sorts of retreats for marriage, work-related, family. And I'm just curious. I have been on several, and I sometimes return from these retreats, and I'm exhausted. And when you leave some of these retreats, you're like, did I get anything out of it? Why did I agree to go? Because someone convinced you to go? Yeah. It's those friends that say, oh, come on, I won't go unless you go. And then you always feel guilty and say, okay, I'll go. How many of you have done that? I'm pretty notorious for jumping in and going, okay, I'll go. It'll be fun. Of course, I always like to say that I can have fun in a padded room. So what does that mean? What does that tell you about me? Don't turn me off. Wait. But anyway, so I have been on some retreats, and sometimes when you go, you're not sure what to expect. They may give you an agenda, but you're just not sure what's going to happen. And literally, sometimes I come home and didn't get a doggone thing out of it. It's like, why did I just waste my whole weekend? Now, it doesn't mean that all the retreats are like this, because a lot of retreats are really worth it. But I have been to several. Don't think I'll attend any unless it's a wine retreat. No. But now, why I'm bringing this up is because the police association always has a marriage retreat, which, police officers and police families are usually pretty high on the divorce rate because of the crazy job, crazy hours. But so there's a retreat. And my husband and I have attended. They've actually, when I say we've attended, well, we have, and they've asked us to speak. And last year we were on a panel where these younger officers and these couples were asking us questions. And this year I chose not to go, but my husband went. So instead I had my friends over. So that was my retreat. I had a bunch of my nice, close friends from school come over, and my husband went. But the reason he did go is he's part of the cook team for the department, and they cook all the meals for the retreat. Well, not all the meals, but most of the meals for the retreat. So anyway, I just think that's funny because that was my thing. Oh, yes, my husband's at the retreat and I'm here with my friends. So maybe that's kind of a retreat, a little break in the marriage, because I'm usually not in this house by myself. So it was kind of nice, and it's kind of awkward because we're always together, it seems like. But that's a good thing. That is a good thing. But have you ever been to a retreat? Now, I don't want to turn anyone off on going to retreats because they are great. If you have good speakers and people who really know what they're talking about, it's great. But Have you ever gone to a retreat or even meeting people you really don't know at these retreats other than the person you went with or the one that convinced you to go? And that's when some of us become socially unintelligent. Yes, I have a podcast on socially intelligent. I think I spoke about this a couple of weeks ago again, because I have been in that place recently, and it is awkward when you go to a whole new place. You don't know anyone, and usually there's lots of people, and usually they are with their friends. Well, there's always someone that knows more than the leader of the retreat. They start off with a question. And this is just this is one thing leading to another, because that's what I do. They always start off with a question to the person in charge of that certain retreat or whatever, and the director or the spokesperson answers the question because you were just asked the question, but then the person who asked the questions always corrects them and knows more about the question. So, and we had just gone to an HOA meeting for our neighborhood with the police department in our little town. And there was a lady, and well, she was from another neighborhood with HOA. And it was just funny because she knew everything about the city, the city we're in. It's a small city, but she knew everything. And she'd ask a question, answer the question. She'd ask a question. I just think it's funny when people do that. It's like, why are you asking the questions if you know the answers? But anyway, where this is leading to is the Ick Factor. I don't know how many of you know, again, what an Ick Factor is. An Ick Factor is about someone who you usually love. And I mean, it can be a family member, including your spouse, a parent, kids. And there's just something about them, as much as you care and love them, that makes you ick. Just something. I mean, my husband knows. I'm sure I have plenty of ick factors for my husband. I'm pretty sure he's always going ick, and I don't even know that he is. But my ick, I will tell you what my ick factor is with my husband, and he will tell you, and it is chewing. When he chews, if it's crunchy, it drives me nuts. If anyone chews, and actually I found out that was a phobia, and that phobia is called misophonia. Yes, it's a phobia. I know. Of course it is. What isn't a phobia? I think we all have some sort of phobias. But anyway, it's a selective sound sensitivity syndrome. And apparently I have that. If I hear anything, if someone had to torture me and they were just chewing in my ear, they wouldn't need to hurt me any other way. That would probably just drive me nuts, chewing in my ear. And it says even people's breathing can trigger this. You know how some people just breathe really loud? And you're like, okay, just take one big breath and you'll be fine. But so these are things that you know about me. So a finger tapping, the sound of a windshield wiper, just I guess it's that consistent sound that keeps going. So anyway, so that is my, I guess, pet peeve or phobia, misophonia. I think that's correct pronunciation. So I did have a friend, and her name was Gloria. That's actually her real name. I know I didn't change the name this time. But she would literally chew quietly. She was a very soft-spoken person. She was very kind and sweet. I don't think I ever heard her raise her voice, and I knew her for years. And so one time we're having lunch together in the little lunchroom, and she has a sandwich and chips, and she was actually chewing those chips like she didn't have anything in her mouth. I've never seen or heard anyone not hear a crunch from a potato chip. Yeah, that was amazing. Maybe she was dipping them in the water and they were dissolving in her mouth. Anyway, it was just kind of crazy for me. I just don't. I mean, I wish everyone could eat chips, including myself. I'm sure I make all sorts of noise like that. But anyway, ick factor, and that's mine. That's my thing. When certain people chew or smack or do certain things, but um, it's a very strong gut reaction. It's I don't know, just it's crazy. I mean, yeah, so we all have ick factors to a certain degree. I mean, like I said, is there someone that you just love and adore in your household? Be it your children, like people that like eat something and smack on their fingers and oh, 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 oh. So, look, I'm icking myself out right now. So there are certain things, but unfortunately, in a relationship, this cannot be healthy. Uh, it's funny because you can have some woman, some man in your relationship, the other person, and there is just something they do. Let's say they tap their pens a lot, or they just they breathe heavy, or their laugh is annoying, but yet you love them so much. I always find it interesting when someone gets a divorce or breaks up with their significant other and they start pinpointing every single ick factor that they have that has just bothered them from the very beginning of the relationship. Like, let's say they are already having a relationship with someone else. Well, no matter what, they start finding every single thing. Oh, I just hate how he chews his nails. He's always chewed his nails. Wow, this is nothing new. You married him for 25 years and now that bothers you? Things like that can really be hurtful and it can be harmful to a relationship. Now, think about it just for a second. Who in your life do you love so much or care for so much, but yet there's just that something that drives you nuts? Now, with my husband, again, he loves to have peppermints. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to share something with you that I've never shared with anyone. I have what I call hound hearing, like a hound, a dog, a hound. I can hear, my hearing's just very good. And we can be in bed. And when you eat a peppermint till it's very tiny and then you start biting it, that's my husband starts doing that. And I'm like, are you almost finished with that peppermint? And he'll look at me, he goes, you can hear that? And I'm like, yes. So instead of doing that, I solved the problem. Instead of going to bed getting irritated, I put my little AirPods in and listen to music or something. And so anyway, back to relationships and the ick. It's really good for you to honestly bring that out in the relationship. Say, this really bugs me, but I love you, but you need to talk to your person that's icking you out. Now, your kids, that's one thing. They're just kids. They're learning. And that's when you can say, okay, stop licking all your fingers after you have, something sweet or something like that. But when it's an adult, you should be able to have that relationship where you can talk and say, oh, it really bugs me. I hate it when you're tapping your fingers or something. Now, they may get offended, but they will be more self-conscious knowing that bothers you. And I'm not saying they're going to stop, and you don't want them to change completely just because it's icking you out. But it's really good for you to be able to express what is bothering you with what a habit is of theirs. Just like you. Honestly, people, no one is perfect. No one whatsoever. We might be pretty close to perfect, or you think you are, but no one is perfect. So I'm sure that there is something in your life that icks someone out. And it doesn't even have to be someone that you are in a relationship with. It could be the lady sitting next to you that knows everything. It could be the guy who definitely knows better than to pick his nose. And I know that's just a disgusting habit, but some people just pick their nose and they don't realize it. So you need to call people out. Need a tissue? Just there are certain things that, and it's not very sanitary either, right? So if you're feeling like you and your husband or your girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever friend is really starting to bother you and you think it's affecting your relationship, you really need to be able to talk to them about it. Because you don't want something as simple as tapping your fingers to drive you out of the relationship and drive you nuts. And if you can't figure out how to tell them, go to therapy. Good old therapy is there. And don't forget, I'm not a therapist, a doctor, or a life coach. I'm just Henrie. And these are all my opinions. And I really believe that. I've never gone to therapy other than I think this is my therapy. Thank you for listening, listeners. Again, let me get off the couch and go on with the podcast. But I think if you're positive when you bring this up to them, they'll know, oh, well, wait, because a lot of people are not even aware of what they do. They have no idea. They may lick their lips a lot. I have a friend, and it doesn't bother me, but you can't help but start counting how many times he's going to lick his lips when he's telling you something. It's just interesting. The way some people are intimate, and you hope most relationships there's some intimacy, right? But let's say first thing in the morning. I am not a first thing in the morning kiss and let's have some fun. No, we need to brush our teeth. I have got to have a fresh breath. Your mouth's been open and shut throughout the night with that mouth guard. No, you really need to go brush your teeth. But I know this is kind of a weird podcast, but it is, honestly, it's a true thing. I mean, people who and you just think, is it a habit? Yes, it is a habit. But I think that if it's really affecting your relationship, that you really should be able to talk to the person. Again, it is funny when people have an affair. I've noticed, because I've had several friends who have had affairs, they always start picking at their significant other and finding every single fault available. Because it's like, well, he drove me to go see this other person. He just wouldn't stop tapping his fingers. He wouldn't stop chewing on peppermints. No, I'm not having an affair. But I mean, there are just, they find every single thing, because when you are doing something wrong to someone else, you always find fault with them. That's what drove you. Even though you know right from wrong, that's what people will do. We will, and me included, I'm sure I've done, no, I have not had an affair or plan to, but you start finding the faults with that other person or that child or that, parent. I mean, parents can have that ick factor on you. Of course, I would say my parents didn't, but they probably did, especially as a teenager, because I've always been really mouthy, speaking what's on my mind. And again, it usually gets me in a lot of trouble, but yeah. But I know that my mom probably would hear me wake up and thought, ugh, she's awake. I don't know. But so this podcast is about something that I just thought it was interesting to know, because a lot of people won't address it. They won't say, yeah, there's, he just, I don't know. I do so much for him, or I'm always doing this for her and buying her this, and she doesn't appreciate it. Well, maybe she's going nuts because of your tapping of the fingers, or because, a woman can do a lot of ick factors. I can tell you that. I know we can. But anyway, so this was just something I wanted to share with you, because I guess I didn't know it had a name, but also I didn't know misophonia was something either about chewing. I looked up, it's crazy when you look up phobias. Oh my gosh, I think we all have phobias. I should do a podcast on phobias. And I'll tell you, I'm going to read a list. That's what I'll do. I will make a list and then I will tell you about the different phobias. And of course, most phobias they're considered mental health or mental illness, mental illness. So it's interesting. I guess we all have quirks, and you know what? Quirks are what makes us. But some people really, you just can't. I don't know. That was something I had read, and it's about crying. Like, I mean, as I've gotten older, I've become more sensitive, and I do cry a lot more. And it's okay to cry. And yes, there's a podcast about crying, and it is okay for men to cry too, for goodness sakes. A lot of people believe that men shouldn't cry. And that's another thing women might say, well, he shouldn't be crying. He's a man. No, he has feelings. No, God gave him those tear ducts for a reason. Use them. But if people get annoyed, that's their ick factor. People get annoyed with other people who cry. I think I used to get annoyed when I was younger and stupid. But I think I used to get annoyed when people cried about everything and anything. Now, my grandmother used to cry all the time. And now I cry. So my mom always used to say, don't make fun of people because you're going to wind up being like them. Hello. But I do. I'm more sensitive to people's feelings now. I definitely watching service on TV, the service we started watching in Kansas, believe it or not. We watch a church service in Kansas every Sunday, but it is, I bet I cry just about every Sunday. And I mentioned that to someone and they said, oh, I don't want to watch church if it's going to make you cry. No, it's not upsetting me. It's the joy of feeling the Holy Spirit through the TV. Who would have thought that you could feel God anywhere and from one state to another? It's amazing. But anyway, and it is okay to cry. And I know a lot of people do get annoyed crying. Well, the article, I'm sorry, I got off on something else, but article I read was something about people crying and how you felt about it. Like, let's say someone is at their job and a guy comes in. We're going to use a guy because men cry too. And he comes into work and he's just very upset and he's emotional. And he's sitting at his desk and no, he's not sobbing, but you can see he's upset and he's crying. Well, first of all, somebody said, well, that's so unprofessional. Well, I'm sorry, you don't know what happened to him. He could have lost his dog. He could have lost all the money in his bank. He could have gotten scammed by a woman. You don't know what they're going through. And no, and you can't really take these to your office, or place of business or whatever, but it is okay to cry. You're supposed to leave all your feelings at home. Well, no, some of us just can't do that. And I mean, there are women that I know that really just they just don't think men should cry. And I'm sorry, but that's really old school. I really think that's sorry about that. I really think that's not right. Because again, I think people should cry. I think that it's okay to express your feelings. Now, it's okay to express your feelings also if you have an ick factor. If you have this ick factor with someone you care about, you need to talk to them about it because it can and it will ruin your relationship. And I know I'm not a doctor or anything, but I mean, that's just logical. If you're not that crazy about what someone does or says all the time, and there are people that, I remember in high school, there was this girl and she thought it was cute, but it really wasn't. And when she'd be discussing something, it was called a health occupational career class. I don't know what it was. Anyway, then what it stood for. But anyway, training, that's what it was. Health occupational career training. Anyway, that was a class I had taken. And I remember she was like the president of the club. And so she got up there and she would ask questions. She goes, well, raise your paws. Now, we're in high school and that might be cute, but I didn't think it was cute in high school. I still don't think it's cute. But, And every time she said that, so that was like an ick factor. And she was like, I was like, no, get off the stage, So anyway, I think that it's important, and people will bother you throughout life. You will meet someone somewhere, but guess what? You don't have to go home with them. They don't live with you. This ick factor is more, I think, for you and your relationship with a certain someone. And it could be a work thing, because you are probably at work more than with your coworkers than you are at home with your kids and your significant other. So anyway, if there's an ick factor, I'm not sure if you should be able to bring it to work and talk to somebody. Hey, you know what? Well, if it's a really personal problem, you probably shouldn't say anything. But stay away from it if it bugs you. Walk away. Of course, I'm the person who interrupts a lot when someone's talking, and I'm training myself to do better. So I will start and then I'll don't say it, let them finish. But I think with my mind, it's like that thought is in my head at that moment. If I don't say it, I'm going to forget it because I forget a lot now. So anyway, so that's my whole take on the ick factor. And retreats. Again, retreats are great. Retreats are good. I don't want to tell anyone not to go on a retreat because they are fun. Actually, they're a lot of fun when you go with a fun person. But if you really need to make sure to check it out if you're going to go to a retreat, make sure you it's something you want to do, because otherwise you are going to waste your time and someone else's time, and just don't do it. If you really don't want to do it, don't do it. But we get that option because we're adults. Anyway, so this is Henrie, and I hope that everyone is March. I can't believe March now. I'm going back to the month, but March is on its way, and we have St. Patty's Day, but we have Easter already. It's crazy. So I hope that everyone is enjoying your day, enjoying your life, and if you need to tweak something, make sure, or tweak something in a relationship, do it gently, do it kindly, and don't do it when you've been drinking or if you're upset, because that's just going to cause a crazy, crazy, chaotic day for you and the other person. Be gentle about the ick factor. Who knows? You might be listening to me right now and going, ugh. And that's okay. But until next week, this is Henrie. Go find your blessings. And don't forget, you can hear Ticket to Life and all my other podcasts about anything and everything on any major podcast platforms.